I am your host, Jessica Ardeal, and today we are speaking with a phenomenal woman. She has been featured on Nightline, Fox News, CNN, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Her work is endorsed by Marianne Williamson, Dr. Christine Northrup, Dr. Bernie Siegel, and many more leaders in the health and wellness industry. She is president of Wellness Seminars, Inc., an author, speaker, and so much more. It is really a thrill to welcome Rena Greenberg. Rena, thank you so very much for taking the time to share your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Jessica. It's a privilege.
How did your journey lead you to discover the tools that help so many people achieve really amazing results?
Well, like so many of us, it's the difficult times that sometimes propel us into the greatest aspects of our life, and that's exactly what happened to me. I was young. I was in my early 20s. I got very sick. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Initially, I thought chronic fatigue. I didn't know. And it finally, after a while of going on like that, being sick, and I was in New York City going from doctor to doctor, and finally thinking there's really nothing wrong with me, I just need to get on with my life, I ended up being told by an acupuncturist that I needed to go to the emergency room right away. He said, your heart rate's skipping. He was taking my pulse. And that was the first time anyone, and I had been to cardiologists, so it was the first time anyone ever thought it could be something with my heart. So I did. I went to the ER, and to my surprise, I was whisked in. I was admitted, and I subsequently stayed in the cardiac care unit for 3 weeks. And I basically was told at that time that my heart rate was at 30 beats per minute. The chief of cardiology said to me, literally, he said, Rena, you have the heart of an 80-year-old. I was 26 at that time. And nobody could explain how it happened. But during my stay, I tried to talk to the doctors about possibly could it be my lifestyle or have anything to do with something I was doing, the way I was eating, and because I knew I had a strong addiction to sugar and carbs, and they said, oh, no, it couldn't possibly be any of that. And so I was sort of on my own. But I left the hospital and I made a decision. I said, I am going to find health. And that's what I did. I read every book on health. I studied nutrition. I studied herbs. I studied a lot of things. But what fascinated me the most was when I stumbled upon learning about the power of the mind. And I started with biofeedback, and then I went on to study hypnotherapy, and neurolinguistic programming was just very popular at that time, and which is a form of hypnosis. And basically why that was so exciting to me was because I realized you could have all the information in the world about any aspect of health, and specifically what to eat, what not to eat, but unless you're motivated from the inside out, you're really not going to be able to make the changes you want to make. You have to tap into that subconscious mind power. And that's what it taught me. And after I restored my own health, and at the time I went back to college, I got a degree in biopsychology in New York, City University of New York, and I became certified as a biofeedback therapist and a hypnotherapist. And then when I regained my own health, I realized I really want to help other people, because I realized so many of us are lost and struggling, and there's so much different information out there. And I developed a program that then I'm so excited to say ended up being reviewed and sponsored in over 75 hospitals. And this was a wellness program featuring behavior modification with hypnotic conditioning to help people lose weight, stop smoking, and break free from addiction and just get healthy.
Your story really illustrates how looking within to our own design and connecting with our inner pieces, as in our organs and systems, and especially the brain, really allows us to facilitate a communication to start to feel our own inner peace. So if we're stuck in an unhealthy habit or pattern, be it with food or smoking, how can we release those ties and live our best life?
Yeah, another great question. So, when we're stuck, the most important thing, I think, is the first step, which means stop. Einstein told us the definition of insanity is we keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And I think we can all relate to that, because sometimes we think if we just go harder, faster, more, that somehow things are going to change. And it's important to realize that if things aren't working, maybe it's time to change our course. And so that, I'd say, is the first step. I think the second step, which is it's so simple, but it's tapping into the motivation. And that's one of the things I love about hypnosis is it helps really increase the personal motivation. Sometimes it's difficult for people to even find a motivation. But think about it. If you don't have a reason, you wouldn't do anything. I mean, the only reason you get up and go to work or clean your house or take care of your kids or do any of the things you do is because you have some reason, whether that's conscious or subconscious. And we're usually motivated by either one of two things. Either we want to move towards something. In the case of weight loss, maybe we want to fit into a certain pair of pants or a certain, sexy dress. Or maybe we want our partner to look at us a certain way. Or we want to feel a certain way. So that's something really positive that we're moving towards. But oftentimes, we have to admit that we're more motivated by what we don't want, by a fear of getting sick, a fear of, aging prematurely, a fear of rejection, whatever it is. So sometimes these fears are strong motivators too, whether they're real or unreal or rational or irrational. And it's important to take a look at what is the motivation and get in touch with that. And then realize if we're not getting the results we want, that perhaps it's because we're not really employing that deeper power within ourselves. So, if we could make the changes in our lives with the conscious mind alone, most of us would have already made those changes, years ago. But the truth is, a lot of times we get caught because consciously we're hearing voices in our head. For example, when it comes to our weight, we may be hearing voices that tell us things like, oh, at my age with my hormones, what's the difference? I might as well just eat what I want. Or, oh, I've been so good all week, I'm just going to have one. Well, now that I've had one, I might as well finish the whole box, get rid of them, and start the diet Monday. So we hear these kind of voices that cause us to sabotage ourselves. And so I think the number one thing to do is, first off, let's get some awareness, like just to notice what's happening, what voice we're listening to, and then make a choice. And we have to realize we have that choice. And what I love so much about hypnosis is we can really reprogram a new inner voice. And that's sort of what my clients say to me is that there's a new voice speaking to them. I mean, they'll tell me it's my voice, but really it's just a new voice that they've internalized that says something much more positive, like instead of no, bad girl, you don't want that, or bad boy, it's, do I even really want that? Wait a second, no. And so the voice might ask, what am I really needing here? Maybe you're just needing some self-love, some self-compassion, some space, some time, a few deep breaths. So it's beginning to have that awareness of what you're needing, what the old you would have done, even if the old you is just 5 minutes old. In every moment we could become new.